Chargers football is back as the Hall of Fame game is tomorrow night at 8 as they face off against the Detroit Lions. Let's break down what's going on in camp and let's talk about Zion Johnson's woes and Rashawn Slater's contract. Let's get into it. Training camp for the Chargers is in full swing, and we've got some ups and we've got some downs to talk about in regards to what's going on in camp. I believe we're at day 11 of training camp so far. Of course, the camp has started early for this particular team and the Detroit Lions for a little bit because they're playing in the Hall of Fame game on Thursday night. So they got to camp a little bit early, got a little bit of a jump start on things so they can be ready to play that football game on Thursday night. So with that being said, the training camp has had some highlights and had some head-scratching moments and some concerns. I would say overall holistically positive. You have your ebbs and flows of training camp in NFL and football in general. So, we're not going to get up in arms about that in regards to what has happened or what's going on in training camp. We're not going to hit the panic button at all. I think it's trending in the right direction. A lot less chaos than previous regimes that we've seen for sure. Definitely a stable look in a stable environment that Jim Harbaugh has brought in for the last 2 years. So that is a breath of fresh air. But just talking about camping in general, talking about the rookies real quick. Trey Harris has flashed the moment he signed. He hit the field, he hit the ground running, and he's been a revelation. Definitely catching the ball at a high clip. I've seen nothing but good things out of him in 1-on-1s and 11-on-11. So that's been looking good. I've heard good things about Arondé Gaskin II. He's been flashing as well at the tight end spot when he's been called upon to be in the offense and whatever team he's playing on, first, second, or third team string. We're not, holistically sure because, everybody's got this field view of a crowd perspective, not necessarily on the field in its entirety. But what I heard from analysts, what I've heard from reporters, what I've heard from fans, he looks good as well. Keandre Lambert-Smith, who I was high on from my draft coverage, how he's been flashing. He's been beating up on the cornerbacks in the large spaces. Haven't seen him go against Tyreek Steele and Dante Jackson much, but outside of that, he's pretty much had his way with the secondary in one-on-one drills. I hadn't seen a whole lot of him on 11-11, but in one-on-one, it's been definitely a good sight and definitely trending upwards in regards to their development. Now, when they go against live bullets and go against different teams, that's going to be really the real tell. So when we talk about the Hall of Fame game, we'll get into that and see how much action it will see in their particular spaces Thursday night. But I want to start off by talking about a topic that I broached on Monday in regards to what I feel like is a deep concern. And I'm not going to mince words. I'm not going to, I guess you can say beat around the bush when it comes down to this. We have an issue here when it comes down to our center position. And it starts with Zion Johnson. Zion Johnson, ladies and gentlemen, is giving me a lot of angst, stressing me out as a fan and an analyst, when it comes down to covering his team. I said early on, I did a whole video, a whole segment on this, and it's worth reiterating that him moving to center, I didn't think it was the best idea, in a lot of spaces because the center position in the NFL especially is highly important. Teams around the league that have good centers have decent success or have great success, even Super Bowl level success. When it comes down to having a good center, your Creed Humphreys, your Jason Kelsey's, your I guess you can say Tyler Lindenbaums and the guys of that ilk, when they come in and they are an elite at their position in that particular facet, you will win a lot of football games. But when you have a upstart guy who never played center before, he's been mainly a guard, left and right, mainly a left guard in college throughout the entirety of his career. And quite frankly, in all honesty, we have to be honest and say that he hasn't been great at left guard for the Chargers in that particular space either. So having woes at your position, your natural position, moving to a different position that has more pressure, more responsibility, You're quote unquote the captain and the leader of the line, and you're going to tell me that if he hasn't fixed his own personal issues, you're going to give him more responsibility, and that's going to work. It gives me a lot of stress. It gives me a lot of stress and a lot of pause. In all honesty, I've heard about issues with him snapping the ball in certain cases in shotgun. His pass pro is still bad, and a lot of people have been giving me a little bit of pushback, saying let Harbaugh cook, and he in Harbaugh we trust and things of that nature. But the facts are the facts, and football is football. I have coached the game, I have played the game, at a high level, and I am looking at it from my own personal experience eyes, and I see a lot of trepidation when it comes down to his technique, if nothing else. Now, I said it before and I say it again. Zion Johnson is a highly touted and a very above average run blocker. But when it comes down to pass protection, he has a real big time issue with keeping his feet set and not moving them at all laterally. His lateral movement is non-existent. It's non-existent. He gets out of his stance, he rocks, he sets, and he does not move. And that is a recipe for disaster. You cannot do that in the NFL. I'm not sure if you can do that in any league where they have a decent D line. They're going to run around you each and every time. And I saw it more glaringly than ever in the Texans playoff game and in practice a few days ago. And it just gave me pause. Now, if you don't believe me, I got footage. I want to show you exactly what I mean when I say that it's a problem. So here's a clip. Now, I've got Zion pointed out here, and I'm going to try to, orchestrate or illustrate exactly what happened here. He sets, and he does not move his feet, and he will walk right around him. I'm going to play it again. Hikes the ball, he sets, does not move, falls down, and gets beat around his right side. Get beat around his right side. One more time for the trifecta. Just look at it again. Watch it. Sets, does not move his feet laterally. He gets swam and gets beat, and he falls on his knees. It's a problem. It's a problem, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry. It is an issue. And he does that often. And there's a reason why he gets beat. He got beat like that at left guard. He got beat like that at right guard. And he's getting beaten like that at center with our own guys. So what do you think when he goes up against a Chris Jones of the world, anybody that's really savvy from a defensive tackle perspective? They're going to give him problems. And you're going to tell me that he needs to call signals, call protections, and pass protect Justin Herbert and not get pressure directly in his face with that particular technique? I have my issues with it. I really do. So what is the solution? So if he cannot ultimately do anything from a pass protection perspective, and he's going to get Justin Herbert vehemently killed, what is the alternative? Now, I've heard some things when they said that, Bradley Bozeman has been getting some center reps this week, more so than Zion. So maybe they're, kind of seeing the light and seeing what I'm seeing, and it maybe not working out. Or I don't know. I think that's the only other option, because I haven't heard Andre James' name at all. They're saying that he's in the mix, but I have not seen him in any second or third team reps, flash at any facet. And if you're going to, move up to the big leagues and start on his O-line at center, you would likely want to be getting first team reps at this point. You don't want to wait till week 3, 4, and 5 to get first team reps and hope that they throw you in there. No, you want to be able to flash and show things as a veteran. You want to be able to flash and show things now versus later. So I'm not sure. So if your options are Zion, Bradley, and Andre, I'm concerned. I really am. I'm really concerned. I'm concerned for the left guard and the center position. Outside of that, I'm fine, because we got Rashawn Slater in the house. We're going to talk about it in a minute. Joe Alt is there. They all look great and all look even better than they did a year ago. Mekhi Becton, who he is, and an elite run blocker. I've talked about his pass protection concerns in the past, so hopefully he's got that cleaned up. We haven't seen much of anything negative in his space. But those two positions right there, right next to Justin Herbert's, wheelhouse, gives me pause in regards to them being able to protect him in the interior. And the league knows that at this point. So don't sit here and think, or don't fool yourself into believing that the league does not know that they have issues and that's the weak area, and they're not going to attack it. They're going to attack it at a high clip. You might not see it in the preseason, but I promise you, week 1 against the Chiefs, they're going to line up Chris Jones in between Bradley Bozeman and Zion Johnson. If they're starting, he's going to cause problems. He's going to wreak havoc. He's going to line up there and there exclusively and make them block him. I promise you that. He's not going to line up against Joe Alt or Rashawn Slater. That's a long day. You're not going to line up against Mekhi Becton. We see what Mekhi Becton did to him in the Super Bowl. He's not going to line up against them guys. He's going to line up against Zion, Bradley, or whoever's playing guard and center and on the left side. That's what he's going to do. He's going to be there exclusively. I'm sure Spagnuolo is licking his chops right now thinking he's going to be right there, and I'm going to leave him there, and I'm going to exploit this weakness. And we're going to cause problems and disrupt their offense all day long. So, again, I'm not sure. Now, the only maybe saving grace in this particular avenue, if Bradley Bozeman can, be serviceable at center. I'm hearing rumors and reports from Daniel Popper and other people that Jamari Salyer has lost weight, and he's hoping to rebound from a poor 2024 campaign. And maybe, just maybe, he can be, the dark horse, and maybe he starts the left guard, and they can move Bradley Bozeman or Andre James to center, or for God's sakes, bring in David Andrews. Maybe that's an option. You got money, you got cap space to bring in on a 1-year deal to solidify the line. You could do that. So if Jamari works out and guard, and he isn't as porous at pass protection as he was last year, he's gotten a little bit lighter and a little more agile, and he moves his feet. He might be a revelation, and he plays left guard. And if we can figure out who's going to play center at a serviceable level, we might be okay. But as it stands right now, between Bradley and Zion and their pass protections ability or lack thereof, I'm worried for Justin Herbert. I'm just going to say it. So we'll see how things go, but I showed you the evidence. I showed you how things have been going, and I'm worried that by the time season gets here and they haven't rectified this issue, that weakness of the O-line is going to be the downfall of the team. That's just going to be my breakdown. It really is. So, but in other news, and news that is positive, Rashawn Slater got his contract done on Sunday. That great news about that. He got his 4-year, $114 million extension with $92 million guaranteed done and signed, sealed, and delivered. And magically, guess what? He was back at practice on Monday. So that whatever he was, quote unquote, working through when it came down to what Jim Harbaugh was talking about, he was just really putting his line in the sand and saying, we're going to get this contract done before I practice because I'm not injuring myself before it's done and I need all my money. And well-deserved. One of the best, if not the best left tackle in the game. Got to believe that he is deserving every bit of this contract he's gotten. And speaking of the contract in its entirety, it's a good one. It's a good one. I'm just going to make this large for everybody to see it on the screen. It's very top heavy, which is good. They get all his guaranteed money up. He get all the guaranteed money up front, really. He's getting a front loaded amount of I want to say an upwards of 20 to 30 million, if I can count this right, in guaranteed salaries up front. So you got that going. What he got at signing and what he's going to get in the first 2 years of his deal is really front loaded. There are no guarantees after 2027, which makes it flexible to move or restructure and or trade if you need be. But I don't think they're going to do that. In all honesty, I don't think that's in the cards. You don't trade one of the best all-pro left tackles in the game to protect your franchise quarterback. Unless he's completely utterly unhappy, for some reason, which I doubt that's going to be the case. I think he loves the team. He's loved playing for this organization for the past 4 years, and I think it's going to continue. So, although they front-loaded the contract and it kind of made it pliable and feasible to get things done from a cap perspective in after the 2 years, it's a very good deal. Very good deal. And like I said, it's very cut, trade, and mover, negotiable friendly after 2 years. So yeah, they definitely did their thing, and he can get a new contract before he turns 30 if he just so desires. So we'll see how he does with that. But definitely a lot of incentives and a lot of I guess you can say good cap numbers for the team, and he gets all the dollars that he can possibly get in paying his contract out. So, and yet again, at the level he's playing, even if he plays all the way out to 30, he'll probably play at least another 4 to 5 years. So he's due for another big time payday. So, hey man, kudos to Rashawn and kudos to the Chargers for getting this done. It's a very good deal, and I like what they're doing with it. Again, 26 Joe in his prime. Get your left tackle solidified, and him and Joe Alt will be in lockstep for the next 4 years. Because Joe Alt is on his second year of his 4-year deal and with a 5th-year option. So he's got 4 years left on his deal with a 5th-year option, and so it is Rashawn. So for at least the next 4 seasons, we got our tackles solidified. So that's definitely a sign of things to come. Now, if they can just get the interior O-line together, then we'll be cooking with gas. But one step at a time. One step at a time. So we'll see how things roll, man. But I like what they're doing here. I like what they're doing for sure. And getting back to camp news, let's talk about the Hall of Fame game real quick before we get out of here. Again, they face the Detroit Lions on Thursday night, the Hall of Fame game. Now, I have my concerns about this I guess you can say this extra preseason game. I think it should be maybe a half of a football game, not a whole. Because again, nobody's going to play their starters, especially in the first Hall of Fame game, the first game of the season, preseason game of the season. So you're going to get a lot of, backyard, second and third and fourth string players that people aren't going to, be interested in after a couple of minutes, in all honesty. I would argue that they should probably play a half of football instead of a whole 60-minute game. But, I think it's a more of a risk for injuries and things of that nature. So I don't know. I'm not sure what Harbaugh and them plan to do from a holistic roster perspective, but I have heard whispers that they plan on playing Trey Harris. They plan on playing Carol Smith, of course. I'm assuming Ronnie Gas is going to play. So that'd be nice to see him. Now the starting quarterback is going to be Trey Lance. Not really jiving with that, in all honesty, to see a half of Trey Lance and then half of the kid DJ, who last name I can't pronounce. I'm not going to even try. But he's a former UFL guy. But yet again, outside of seeing the rookies that's going to play, I'm a little, lukewarm on the game. In all honesty, I may not get a really good look at what the Chargers have been building. They did say Omarion Hampton was going to play. I'm not really vibing with that. I think that you need to preserve him because we don't know what Najee Harris's eye injury situation is going to be. He hadn't practiced yet. Obviously, he's been on the field with sunglasses and things of that nature, but he hasn't practiced. So with Omarion getting all the first team reps, I would save him and lean on, your guy like Kamani Vidal and Jared Patterson and Naeem Hines and, the kid who they call was Raheem Sanders, I think that's his name. Lean on them guys. Let them get reps and let them play in large space. You got 4 running backs outside of your top 2 that you can utilize. So I would utilize them and not play Omarion a whole lot. But hopefully he'll get a few snaps, get a few touches, and get his, get his mojo going, and then they'll take him out. I don't want to see him a lot in this game. I don't. And I'm curious to see what the O-line is going to look like. Who's going to play, who's not. I would like to argue that the 2 tackles won't play, Rashawn and Joe. Outside of that, I think everybody else needs to play. Honestly, I need to see Jamar Saleh get a lot of reps. Zion needs some snaps. Bradley Bozen needs some snaps. Andre James, Trey Pipkins. I need those 5 guys for sure. Need to get a lot of snaps and get some reps. I would like to see Taylor Heineke play the first quarter maybe. For the second team, let the 2s get some work and get some qualities burn against their Detroit's defense, but we'll see. We're not going to see that likely, but I will. Maybe they'll save that for the next preseason game because they do have 4. But outside of that, man, I'm not too too hyped about this particular game outside of seeing the rookies play. And the problem I have with it is the reason why I'm kind of apathetic is the fact that I'm concerned about Trey Lance's ability to move the offense. That's my concern. He has some woes and has some accuracy issues in camp. So him playing a whole half, I don't know. We might be looking at the second half to see things move because I think we've all endured the Easton Stick years in preseason, and it wasn't something to behold and watch. It was a really paint drying experience, watching paint dry experience. So we'll see how things roll, man. But I do want to see Trey and Rondé and Keandre get some live action against others than their own team. So we'll see how that goes. But I'll definitely be tuned in and definitely give you my feedback and my replay on that particular avenue. Hopefully we stay injury free and get through it, and then we'll move forward and get going on to the week 2's preseason game, which will be week 1 for everybody else. So we'll see how things roll, man. But overall, outside of Zion being a stressful moment for me, everything else seems to be trending up. Rashawn Slater's in the house. The Hall of Fame game is here. We got Chargers football back. Everybody should be hyped and excited. And as long as we stay healthy throughout this preseason, man, it should be a good time. So drop your comments in the video's description and let me know exactly how you feel about these particular areas that I've talked about. Hit that subscribe button as always. Let me know how you feel about the channel. We're moving things big time in Chargers land. And you always got to remember to bolt up.